Now, last Tuesday was episode 172, I believe, and it was letting Joanne have a voice in this travesty that they call court hearings. And I took her down. I made arrangements with the judge, or made a bargain, I should say, with the judge on the hearing of the 15th. Things were going south for me in the hearing. So it was different, to say the least. That I thought I was going to get a voice in it, but how it turned out is I've been pretty much put in a position of a habitual defendant. And the guardian and her attorney were basically the plaintiffs, and or the guardian was speaking for the plaintiff in this instance. Like I said, you can't really make this thing up. The protection order was filed against me from Rehabilitation Center, a place that Miss Kemper had previously been treated at. And I didn't find out until after the trial that she no longer was a resident there. But yet they were, believe it or not, filing a protective order against me visiting her at a place that she no longer lived. And I have no real purpose into going back to that facility, but it was a fancy way of the guardian, or a roundabout way, backdoor method to getting me restricted from visitation privileges and phone privileges with Joanne Kemper. And the guardian's attorney, he made a lot of statements that were based on supposition, but had no really proof or solidity to them. They were speculations or guesswork or what have you. Some were flat out lies. And it wasn't until I got back home I realized the mistake I had made. And that's I realized I was never going to get a level playing field. I look back at my past, and I at one time had the position that the guardian has now. Now she's dealing with, I don't know if they're friends, but they're on friendly terms. And I'm an outsider, and a good example of a bad guy because I was representing myself. Now, the judges don't like that because they were attorneys at one time, and they all suggest you better get an attorney. Well, every attorney I talked to were a part of the same corrupt system. And it cost me $7,000 to figure that one out. So we had a discussion. I had a discussion with the commissioner, and she said, well, that anybody who represents themselves has a fool for a client. And I said, yes, but that fool at least has honest representation. Well, she didn't think that was too funny. Now, after the attorney got through trying to, well, he did a pretty good job of wrecking my good name in front of that judge. When I thought I was going to have a chance to defend myself, I thought wrong. The judge took off her judge's cap and put on the cap of a prosecutor. And she started grilling me. And I was polite. I answered her questions the best I could. And I tried not to be spiteful in my answers, but she made a key mistake, and she was, it was looking to me that she was going to go south with my better interests. And so she kept on drilling me about what I hope to gain from these podcasts among my friends. Well, she took it as a joke, I guess. And the attorney, he kind of poo-hooed it, saying it was the Northwest Kitchen Tabernacle thing or whatever it is. And what it is a Christian source of honest information. And they made it sound like me and about 20 of my friends would view it. And if they would look on the podcast, I've had 210,000 views on it. Now I don't even know that many people, and I don't have that many friends, certainly. But from the replies I got, they come from all over the world. I've got responses from Italy, France, England, Hawaii. So it's not just a select few people that get these podcasts from me. And I had to sit back and put myself and look at my background. And at one time, I drank with the judges and sheriffs, police chiefs, and I was pretty much untouchable in any court of law there. So I was going about things going at it in the wrong direction. Then I had a friend who was a sheriff. And I won't go into details how good of friends we were, but when he was defeated finally in his tour, that a month after the election, he was thrown in jail. And for extra favors he did while he was a sheriff, of which I was not part of any of those favors, but I wasn't one of them that was mentioned. Anyway, it was for all just publicity. He didn't spend any time in jail. He was granted a leave so he could go deer hunting. But the fact that I know I didn't have that pull in that county anymore. And so a little bit in the same direction, like these judges and commissioners that I've been facing all have been appointed by the governor of the state of Washington. Now, and I had nowhere to go above them because they had a like-minded administration in Washington, D.C. But now there's a new administration in Washington, D.C. Instead of me wasting my time with local judges and what have you, who are friends with the people that are keeping Joanne and I separated, we didn't have a shot. I should have went right away when the new administration took office. I should have jumped right in at that time. I've got all the proof that it's not a conspiracy theory. It is a conspiracy. Throw that theory out. I mean, the comments I got, they all agree with me. And all my proof comes from their records. And I mentioned the fact of $45,000 being embezzled from Joanne's account. There was nothing I could do about it because it was Joanne's account. But they tried to tie me in on it. And the fact of the matter is I was never on any of Joanne Kemper's bank accounts. Never. But Joanne Kemper was on all of my bank accounts. I had 3 at one time. And her name was on all of them. And the reason being because I didn't have anybody. I've outlived my relatives. There was nobody on the West Coast that was even close to being having her name on my account. I needed somebody to pay my debts in case of something happened to me. And that was Joanne Kemper. I trusted her. And I didn't want to be on her account, and I never suggested it. I didn't want people to think that I only moved in there because of her money, because anybody that knows me will tell you I don't give a hoot about any money. I'm just as happy with $1 in my pocket as I am with $1,000 in my pocket. That's a fact. But the judge, in her questioning of me, made a really mistake, and I'm sure Gonzaga taught her in law school that you never ask a question you don't know the answer to. Well, she kept on hounding me about what I hoped to accomplish with these podcasts. So finally, I said, hey, I'm working off of Ephesians 5:11 that says, do not hold fellowship with the darkness, but expose them. And then I read to her, and I'm going to shorten it up a bit, but what I said was the safest criminal action is those that are perpetrated against the senior citizens, because they're normally initiated by a loved one, taken over by evil attorneys who are protected by evil judges. And just as when I said that, I expected her to explode, but it was reverse. And she backtracked a bit. And that's when she kind of hinted about if I was granted permission to visit Joanne weekly and call her once a week, Joanne could call me as many times as she wanted to. Well, I said visit her weekly. It was actually visit her twice a month. And but she wanted me to take that episode off the air. And I agreed to that. And I told her, I said, I'll do it right now if you want. And she says, no, I believe you will. And I tried to I had my friend Richard there, and I introduced Richard to the court. And I told him, I said, Richard's a good friend. Richard will do almost anything I ask him to do, except one thing. Richard will not lie for me. I know that. So they didn't want any part of Richard being on the stand and taking an oath or anything, because they didn't want the truth being brought out. So I asked about my dog, Billy. Well, the judge backed right off of that. She said, that's not any part of this hearing. Well, I asked after she made her ruling, and it's really pretty much vague, because how am I going to call Joanne? Now, I have no problem with working it within her new facilities bylaws or rules or regulations or what it is. I have no problem with that, as long as they're reasonable. But how do I call her? Again, I got her new cell phone. That come up missing, and then charge cord, they give it back. The charge cord, they couldn't find one to charge it. Those are standard. I'm sure they had 100 of them there in that facility. And I'm going to have to change my approach on all of this. Is I don't know how I'm going to call her. I'll just play that by ear. But I asked the guardian about my dog, Billy. And she kind of shrugged it off as that she had no decision on that, Now that's a lie. He was at the residence of Joanne's, and the caregiver, who was paid $100 a day, was there when the lady come to pick up my dog, and they would not give him to him. And so she could have stepped in and settled that right there, but she wouldn't. So right now, I'm going to see if the prosecutor will file charges against her grandson, her daughter, her son-in-law, and Stacy Bollinger, the guardian, and let the courts decide who's guilty. This is a Class C felony, or Class B felony. But it does carry up to 5 years in jail and $25,000 fine. Now, I don't even know if Billy's alive right now. They might have killed him. They're hiding him. And if the prosecutor of Clark County refuses to do anything, the police already refused to do their duties. And if the prosecutor refuses to prosecute, I'll have to take it to another step. And I'm going to contact the home office of the rehab center, which is located in Idaho, and I'm going to demand an apology in writing for smearing my name in a court. None of the accusations were even close. They said I was nasty to their staff. That's a lie. I even brought a gift to the office manager. She hugged me for it. They accused me of taking pictures of their patients. That's a lie. Patients being plural. I took a picture of a patient, and that was Joanne. And I had permission from the office manager to take that picture. She made me promise I wouldn't take videos, and I did not take any videos after that promise. So I'm tired of having my name drug in the dirt with, the reflective accusations. And that's what I mean by that is they're accusing me of things they do. They do the wrongdoing and point at me. That's not right. But the judges aren't going to do anything about it because they're all friends. So I take the step up. I've got files that'll be going out to Congress and Senate, Judiciary Committees, Ways and Means Committee. I got forms going out to the FBI. I've got forms going out to the Attorney General in Washington, D.C. So I'm not going to quit. They can take my life, but they can't take my soul because that belongs in Jesus. And it's hard on me too. The stress, daily stress that they cause. but I get my strength from Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Amen.